Welcome to the Big 12 Deep Dive Podcast. If you watched us before, welcome back to the Big 12 Deep Dive Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the AP poll, recap of the Big 12 games this weekend, and the top teams in the Big 12. So I'm recording this on Sunday, 8:30 p.m. The AP poll came out about 8 hours ago. I'm going to go through it and just talk about my disagreements. Top 10, we've got Ohio State. Number 2 is Miami. Number 3, Indiana. Number 4, Texas A&M. 5, Ole Miss. 6, Alabama. 7, Texas Tech. 8, Oregon. 9, Georgia. And 10, LSU. I said this last week in this episode. I don't have a problem with the top 10. Also, I'm just going to add this. Indiana looks unbelievable. That was a very, very impressive win at Oregon. Oregon's about the only team that I'm really going to mention in the top 10 just because their win at Penn State does not look as good now for obvious reasons. Penn State obviously just firing their head coach, James Franklin, which a lot of Penn State fans have been saying before this game even, or before their loss to Northwestern. Number 11, Tennessee, and then we get to number 12, Georgia Tech. I talked about this last week, so I'm not going to say a whole lot about it today. But same thing that I said last week, like I don't really see how Georgia Tech can still be up here as high as they are. I think the AP poll is starting to get it figured out with teams placements and stuff like that, and based off of who they've lost to, who they've beaten. Georgia Tech is a team personally that stands out to me that it's like they still really haven't beat. I mean, yes, they're undefeated, so can't take that away from them. But they still, I don't know, they just haven't really beat a whole lot of, good, impressive teams. And obviously now the Colorado win looks better after Colorado took down Iowa State, which I made a whole entire episode about that, my reaction, because I'm an Iowa State fan. So if you want to go check that out, you definitely should. But then we get to Notre Dame at 13, number 14, Oklahoma, 15, BYU, 16, Missouri, 17, Vanderbilt, 18, Virginia, 19, USF, who looked dominant against North Texas, 20, USC, 21, Texas, 22, Memphis, 23, Utah, 24, Cincinnati, and number 25, Nebraska. As a Big 12 fan, I will say Cincinnati probably should be underneath Nebraska just because if only we had a way to figure out which team was better in that, But I truly don't have too many complaints about this. Good to see the Big 12 has 4 teams ranked again with Texas Tech, BYU, Utah, and Cincinnati. And I was saying last week too, I was like, if Iowa State's ranked, then Cincinnati should definitely be ranked, no question. So that's obviously good to see that Cincinnati got ranked. But yeah, truly, I don't have a whole lot to disagree with this AP poll, except for Georgia Tech's about the only one. Looking at this list, I would probably still put Oklahoma ahead of Georgia Tech. I'd probably put BYU ahead of Georgia Tech, probably even Missouri and Vanderbilt and Virginia. I would say Georgia Tech's good spot would be like the 17 to 20 range. Again, yes, they're 6-0, but again, their wins, obviously just got improved from the Colorado win against Iowa State. But again, we're going to talk about this Wake Forest game where they only beat them by 1 point. And to me, it's just like, well, that's not really a huge standout win by any means. But yeah, and then we've got some receiving votes. We have Illinois with 113, Michigan with 73, Washington 36, UNLV with 30. UNLV's a scary team. Navy with 11, Mississippi State 8, Tulane 2, and San Diego State 2. Iowa State obviously dropped from the rankings. Illinois as well after their loss to Ohio State. I said Ohio State will probably beat Illinois. Illinois will probably drop out. Michigan dropped out as well. Arizona State after their beatdown against Utah, and then Florida State at 25, who, as I said last week, should not even have been there in the first place. So, but no, like I said, I don't have a whole lot of complaints with this AP poll. I really don't. And I think, a lot of the complaints at the beginning of the year are just like, oh, this team shouldn't be ranked because they haven't proven anything. Well, now we're starting to get into the prove it phases of the season and the prove it games. Prove that you should be ranked, prove that you should be where you are against another, good solid team. So based off of that, I really don't have any complaints. And I do want to make a quick apology to Missouri fans if any Missouri fan is watching this, because I have been doubting you this whole entire year. And even though you guys lost to Alabama, you lost to Alabama and you kept it close. So I will say Missouri definitely deserves to be ranked. I apologize for doubting Missouri. That's enough for the AP poll, though. We're going to get into some Big 12 recap games. Big 12 recap games. I'm going to go with the Iowa State one first, just because I made a whole entire episode about it. I'm not going to talk a lot about this one, but Iowa State falls to Colorado 24-17. Second straight loss for the Cyclones. I put Iowa State struggled to be consistent offensively. We saw that definitely in the first half. Except Abu Sama was balling out in that game. He had 177 yards rushing. Rocco Becht went 18 for 33 with 205 yards. I thought Iowa State's defense played fine for the most part. They showed up when they needed to, especially holding Colorado to a field goal after we didn't convert a 4th and 1 on our own 17-yard line. So our defense definitely showed up 100%, way more, besides the 2-shot touchdowns that we gave up. But that's... And then Caden Salter went 16 for 25, 255 yards. Salter, no turnovers against this Iowa State defense. That was probably about the only thing that I thought was definitely going to happen, was Salter was going to throw a pick. We were going to bait him into an interception. So kudos for Caden Salter for not throwing an interception. And Iowa State moves to 5-2 on the year. Kansas State back on track with a 41-28 win over TCU. Avery Johnson, who, if you've watched any of my other episodes, I know a lot of K-State fans maybe not be as high on Avery this year, and more so the offensive coordinator of K-State, but I've been really high on Avery Johnson. I think he is an amazing quarterback. I think he's a great quarterback for Kansas State as well. Johnson went 16 for 26, 198 yards, only 29 yards rushing, but K-State, like I said, got it done 41-28. And then Josh Hoover. We need to take a second to talk about Josh Hoover, because he had 376 yards through the air on 26 completions. I mean, that is unbelievable. And you still only managed to put up 21 points. So maybe a pretty big of a letdown for TCU, especially when your quarterback plays that good. I mean, Josh Hoover is an absolute... I mean, it is unbelievable how good of a quarterback that he is. If I had to pick right now, I would say Josh Hoover's probably the best quarterback in the Big 12, and it's not even close, to be completely honest. I don't think it is, to be honestly. I really don't. Next one we've got is Houston wins 39-17 over Oklahoma State. I just realized I missed a part of these, though. I picked Iowa State to beat Colorado, so obviously I lost there. And then K-State and TCU, I picked TCU to win, so I lost there. So we're not doing too hot right now, but we're going to get back on track with this one. I picked Houston to beat Oklahoma State, and they did, 39-17. Connor Wigman played pretty solid, 21 for 30, 306 yards. And then Oklahoma State played 4 different quarterbacks who combined. That's a crazy stat in itself. This is the crazier stat. Those 4 quarterbacks combined 9 completions out of 20 attempts and 180 yards passing. That is a crazy stat. 4 different quarterbacks, and they combined for 9 completions. That is unbelievable. I don't even know what else to say about that. But yeah, Houston got it done at Oklahoma State. I'm 2 for 2 now. 2 for 4. 2-2, I guess. Cincinnati beats UCF 20-11. UCF quarterback Fancher. I'm not sure. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right. If I'm not, any UCF fan in the comments, let me know if I'm butchering that, because I truly don't know. This is the first time I've really ever covered UCF before. But he went 28 out of 49 for 222 yards. UCF went 191 yards on the ground and Sorsby went 12 for 21 and 190 yards. I watched a little bit of this game. I think it was mostly the first half that I watched of this game because I wanted to watch other games as well. But Cincy looked very good in the first half is what I saw, and obviously they're ranked now. I said this in one of last week's episodes, but Cincinnati to me really looks like a serious contender in the conference right now. And we're going to get into that as well in the next segment. But Cincinnati, they did. I don't think they cover. I think the spread was like 13. They didn't cover the spread, but I still think Cincinnati looks very, very, very good. Again, as an Iowa State fan, I'm not just saying that to hype them up more because they beat Iowa State, but I genuinely like how they play, and I like how they play, and I like their players a lot. So I'll be very interested to see if Cincinnati can keep this up. I think if I remember right, they got to play Texas Tech later in the year. I could be wrong on that. I'm going to check really quick, but no, they do not. But they do have to play at Utah and versus BYU and at TCU. So the road only gets tougher for Cincinnati. So we'll have to see. I think Cincinnati, again, like I just said, they're a very good team. I will be very interested to see where they actually end up at the end of the year. Then we have Utah over Arizona State. Arizona State struggled without Sam Leavitt. Jeff Sims went 18 for 28, but only 124 yards. And then Devin Dampier went 7 for 12, 104 yards. I'm going to be honest, I hate to say this because I'm covering the entire conference, but I did not watch this game because I was watching the BYU versus Arizona game, which was a lot closer and a lot better of a game. It wasn't a blowout. But 7 for 12 with 100 yards. I thought that was a very interesting stat when I was looking at this game. But yeah, no problem for Utah in this game at all. Again, Arizona State without Sam Leavitt. But it sounds like Leavitt is going to be back in time to play against Iowa State, which I don't like. I don't like at all. A struggling Iowa State team going up against Sam Leavitt is not good. And plus, we saw that matchup last year in the championship game. We got our you-know-what's handed to us in the championship game, so I'm just going to leave it at that. BYU over Arizona, 33-27 in double overtime. I talked about this game a lot last week, and I picked Arizona to win, mostly because BYU had times in the games before, specifically against West Virginia, where they struggled and looked like they did not know how to play football. But BYU got it done. BYU proved it. That was kind of what I said in one of the other episodes. I said this is a prove-it game for BYU. If they can win at Arizona, then this is a huge message to the Big 12. And obviously we saw them. They moved up to 15th on the rankings as well. But yeah, Bear Bachmeier, though, a little shaky throwing the ball, 12 for 29, but had 172 yards from those 12 completions. BYU's rushing attack, LJ Martin with 162 yards and 1 touchdown, which was unbelievable. That is 162 yards on the ground is amazing, which reminds me, I don't know how I missed this game. I for some reason, did not write down the Kansas-Texas Tech game, but the final score was 42-17, if I remember correctly. And if we're talking about running backs, Cameron Dickey, holy cow. I want to say off the top of my head, he had about 263 yards on the ground, which is insane. For one game, that is unbelievable. 263 yards. But this is, I watched a lot of this game too. Texas Tech dominated every single aspect of this game. It was not even close. Obviously, Kansas did actually make it close at halftime. It was 21-17. But Texas Tech obviously pulled away in the end. And Baron Morton went down as well. They got Will Hammond in there at quarterback. And I know he scored at least 1 rushing touchdown. I think the rest were Cameron Dickey, of course. Well, not all of the touchdowns, but Cameron Dickey looks like he had 2. But yeah, Texas Tech, I mean, unbelievable performance again from them, which is not a shocker. 505 total yards. Holy cow. But yeah, Texas Tech, and they only had the ball for 24 minutes. Wow. Yeah, Texas Tech, if you want a little preview of what I'm going to talk about next, Texas Tech is by far the best team in the conference, which is what we're going to get to next, is the top teams in the Big 12. Top 4 teams in the conference right now, we've got BYU, Texas Tech on top, undefeated at 6-0, and then Cincinnati, Utah, and Houston are all 5-1 with 1 loss in conference play. Not 1 loss in conference play. Cincinnati's undefeated in conference. Their loss was to Nebraska, who they're ranked ahead of. And then Utah's loss was to Texas Tech, and Houston's loss was also to Texas Tech. Obviously, definitely there's starting to be some, clear top teams, some clear mid teams, and some clear terrible teams. And then there's Oklahoma State. But looking at it right now, I mean, I don't think a whole lot of people expected BYU to be in the position they're in, just because you lose your quarterback right before the season starts. You still got really good players, of course. I think everyone still thought they would be good, but I don't think anyone thought that they would still be 6-0 undefeated at this point in the season. Cincinnati came out of absolutely nowhere. Again, I talked about this before the Iowa State-Cincinnati game. That was a big game that no one expected to be a big game for both teams. But Cincinnati, like I've said several times now, I mean, they're the real deal. And Cincinnati, I know we were just looking at their schedule, but Cincinnati's got at Arizona State next, which that'll be obviously a tough task going out to Tempe, Arizona. And then they got versus Oklahoma State, at Kansas State, versus BYU, versus UCF, and at West Virginia. Cincinnati, I mean, you get one tough game on the road, really. At Kansas State might be a hard game, just because Kansas State is starting to figure it out a little bit. But other than that, I mean, you're facing some not terrible opponents. Sorry, this is Texas Tech's schedule. What am I doing? Where is Cincinnati's schedule? Okay, well, Texas Tech will probably finish the year off pretty strong. I'm predicting right now, though, we have a Texas Tech and Utah rematch in the Big 12 championship game. And we're going to talk about Utah more this week because that's my game of the week for the Big 12 conference. Of course, my computer does not want to load right now. Let me see if I can type this up. But Cincinnati, sitting in a good spot right now. Okay. Looks like they play at Oklahoma State versus Baylor, at Utah versus Arizona versus BYU, and then at TCU. So I look for Cincinnati to probably stay unbeaten at home. I think they're going to knock off BYU. They should beat Arizona. They should beat Baylor. They should beat Oklahoma State. That would be pretty bad if they're probably going to lose to Utah. I will say that right now. TCU, I feel like that's going to be a coin flip game. But other than that, I feel like Cincinnati 10-2, 9-3. I mean, they're going to be right up there, and same with the rest of these teams too. Like I said, like we could have 3 or 4 10-win teams in the conference. That's what the Big 12 needs. That's what we need as a conference in total. But that'll be very interesting. But yeah, that is all we have time for today. As I said, my Iowa State's on a bye week this week. I normally cover them midweek, and I still might just kind of talking about what needs to come from them next, but I'm also going to be covering a little bit more on BYU and Utah, and then another game for the week as well. I'm going to break down 2 games more in depth. That'll probably be out Wednesday, and then Friday we'll have our Pick'ems episode for the week ahead, or for the next, week 8 Saturday. as well as just some other things that we do on the Friday episode. So yeah, that is it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts on this past week below. Let me know if you think the rankings and the AP poll should be different. I thought they were pretty solid, but maybe you think differently. But yeah, so that is all we have time for this one. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to the Big 12 Deep Dive, the podcast where we break down everything Big 12 football and basketball.